different from the other leaders of India?
Well, successful leaders across the world have some common traits, common characteristics. Now, what made Netaji stand apart from, besides those common characteristics, was that he was very clear in his head as to what he was trying to achieve. And he never made compromises. He stuck to his goal, he stuck to his way of work, and he could inspire, despite his ideology being aggressive, being more radical than the Indians, the mass of Indians are used to. They were, don't forget, he was working at a time when they were responding to the call of Mahatma Gandhi, which was very mellowed down and moderate. And at that time, Subhash Chandra Bose was trying to build up, and it took him nearly 2 decades to build up the program. So patience was one thing, sticking to his ideals without giving up, reinventing himself constantly. He constantly faced difficulties and reinvented himself at practically entire life, and meticulous planning. So all these characters were there, which made him different from his contemporaries, and he could see the future probably in a much clearer way. He was thinking perhaps 50 years ahead of his time. So he had the Rani Jhansi regiment. He could think this was beyond the imagination of anybody. That's one Indian without any help of others, without financial help, just on his own steam. He could go abroad and set up governments in exile in 2 continents and set up 2 armies and then bring on the assault to the British Empire. That was unimaginable at that time. So he was a visionary. That the ability to see the future and decide his way of working, that made him very different from his contemporaries.
I think the only thing I would like to add, like there was nobody quite like Netaji. I mean, in multiple ways. And charisma, quite young, dynamic. I don't think any other leader of that period like had all those qualities that this man possessed in terms of courage. I mean, the kind of things he did, others could not even imagine. And that's the reason why, especially even today, I mean, not only, I mean, years gone by, 20, 30 years ago, even today, our experience of going all over the world, giving talks about him, it's usually the young people who come around and they are the ones who take in these pastures. So that's something which connects him to the youth. Like, so I would say, so it's difficult to talk about Netaji in 5-6 words, like the qualities that he talked about, and also that he had all the qualities which no other single leader possessed back in those days. Very good.
So the key word that I decipher is the courage that you read.
Courage was one. Foresight. He was very. People tend to think he was headstrong. No, he was not headstrong. This is not the way to talk about.
He wasn't.
He wasn't headstrong. He was very cool in his head. Like this is not the place to talk about it. Like the way he handled Adolf Hitler, it requires a lot of courage, a lot of tact. I cannot imagine any other diplomat of our country, even today, will have that sort of courage and tact to deal with somebody like Adolf Hitler. They can't even imagine those things. So this is mind-boggling to talk about Subhash Chandra Bose. Let's take one part of his life and start discussing it. So just for example, the way he handled Adolf Hitler, I very much doubt any other Indian leader could have even thought anything.
Sir, I would come back to you. The word courage, he reiterated and emphasized on the word. With your career and your journey, how much importance would you give to courage, in order to go ahead and be a leader in whichever field you are?
I think the moment one talks about courage as far as leadership is concerned, you have to look at it from 2 perspectives. One is physical courage, and the other is moral courage. And Netaji exhibited both in all respects. In terms of physical courage, going through the entire gamut of whatever he went through, in raising the army, in going to Japan,
yes,
escaping, going to Germany, going by sea, going by the submarine. Those are tremendous examples of physical courage and physically commanding troops, even though it was in Singapore and Malaya, and pushing the men on to Manipur, where they won a series of victories against the British. Those were great examples of physical courage. And as far as moral courage is concerned, I think he stood out as the greatest leader that India had, not only at that time, but even now if you try to compare it with anyone else. At least those are my views.
Talking about leaders, you do need a lot of moral courage. I think that is way more important, to take that plunge, to take that decision, to take that risk. Well, in entrepreneurship, you need a lot of that courage, Entrepreneurship is also about leadership. So my next question would be to Shiladitya Ghosh. Well, as far as my knowledge goes, and as per the record of 1590 is one of the largest selling brands in the category of kebabs and biryani. এবং এমন একটা জায়গা যেখানে মানে বিরিয়ানি kebabs রাজ করে এত নামি কিছু জায়গায় সেখানে how did you conceptualize and how did you create a difference with this brand যেখানে এত popularity এত short span of time এ পেয়ে গেছে out 1590?
Before we start, Senior, I would like to say that Dada is very fond of biryani. Where's the biryani from out?
Yeah, I know.
Where's the biryani for Dada?
I know, because Snehashish is a very dear friend. দাদার সাথে আমার ব্যক্তিগত আলাপ নেই। তো Snehashish অনেকবার অর্ডার করে, and গৌতম অনেকবার পাঠিয়েছে দাদাকে। So I got met you personally, but no, as Genia said, like my brother first started chow mein on his own, and then both of us we wanted to do something. Then we were researching, debating on what cuisine do we want for, and then we did a pan-India research, and the research said biryani and kebab is the highest selling cuisine in the country today. So we zeroed down on that, and then we thought what to do with this now. Then we thought, like for other cuisines, you have various segments. For a Bengali cuisine, you have a Spice Hotel, you have a Bhojori Wanna one step up, you have a Six Baligans place, you have Old Calcutta, and you have Aheri on the other side. But in this genre, you just had Shiraz Arsalan on one side, and then you had Dampuk on the other side. In the mid segment, there were nothing. So we thought this is the space where we should work on, and that was the, success mantra for all. That was the area where we
মানে
actually
ঝোপ
focused
বুঝে
on.
কোপ আর কি বিষয়টা হয়ে গেছে
Sorry?
এই স্পেসটা ঝোপ বুঝে কোপ আর কি
হ্যাঁ কারণ ওখানে কিছু ছিল না। আর লোকে বিরিয়ানি মানেই ভাবতো খালি বিরিয়ানি আর চাপ, বাট আবাদি খাবারের যত ডিটেল ভ্যারাইটি আছে লাইক গেলোটি কাবাব ওরা কাকড়ি কাবাব ওরা নিহারি, উই ফার্স্ট ইন্ট্রোডিউস দ্যাট টু ক্যালকাটা, সো উই টেক প্রাইড ইন সেইং দ্যাট।
তো আমাদের বিরিয়ানি যেটা কেতনদা বলেন যে দাদার বাড়িতে গেছে, তাই তো দাদা
Prize
অলসো বিরিয়ানি লাভার, প্রাইজ হয়
আমি মনে হয় দাদা আমাকে আজকাল আর কিছু খান না, আগে খেতেন।
দাদা প্লিজ কিছু এটা যদি বলো মানে হ্যাঁ দাদা বিরিয়ানি দাদা হচ্ছে মাইটে নেওয়া উচিত নেব দাদা with the aloo and the deem, right? বিরিয়ানি with the aloo and deem.
আচ্ছা পাঠিয়ে দেবেন, পাঠিয়ে দেবেন, সো আই লুক আফটার ইট।
এই হয় শিলাদা, আমরা তো শিলাদিত্যদাকে বলতে পারি সৌরভ গাঙ্গুলির বাড়িতেই যেতে পারে, কি আর করবো ওকে with leaders like you, Shiladitya, I would also like to ask you that there are budding entrepreneurs and post COVID আমরা দেখেছি এই সময় যে সবাই ব্যবসা করতে চান, সবাই নিজে কিছু করতে চান, প্রচুর startups. To all the budding entrepreneurs, what is the mantra, your mantra of success as an entrepreneur? What would you say?
I feel you need to be focused, you need to be absolutely detailed, as I believe God is in details, and patience, because there's no shortcut to success. Lift-এ চড়ে একটা সাকসেসের উপরে পৌঁছে যাওয়া যায় না। So you need to have a lot of patience, and you need to be focused and have detailing in whatever you do. That's it.
দাদা আমরা সকলকেই একই প্রশ্ন করছি যেহেতু লিডার্সদের কি তিনটে মানে হোয়াট আর দি অ্যাট্রিবিউটস ওয়ান লিডার শুড হ্যাভ, লিডার্সদের কি চাপ থাকে, দ্য প্রেশার আ লিডার has to have, मैंने brain had to strain there, had to, to drive the team, and constantly, she there is this constant pressure to inspire the team and be consistent. I mean, so this pressure of a leader, how would you say? What would you say?
Firstly, I don't mind the pressure Shiladitya has because he makes good food and he can eat it also. So he has the advantage of doing that. The gentleman on my right had a different sort of a pressure with bullets going around all over wherever he's been posted. You spoke about Netaji, his courage, his leadership skills, his ability to take decisions. So every individual needs the leadership in separate platforms in a different way. So my leadership is a lot safer and a lot easier than what respected Netaji and the gentleman on my right went through. Pressure is something which you need. I don't see or I don't want anybody to go through a life without pressure because that means you're not good enough. So I think for all of us here who think about pressure, who think about job pressure, work pressure, family pressure, pressure of expectations, I think it's a happy space to be in. When you're enthralled with leadership, when you're enthralled with or given a responsibility to lead anything, whether it's an army, whether it's a nation, a state, a team, as an entrepreneur, I think the first and the foremost aspect which should come to your mind is that people think I'm good enough to do it. You better be in that position rather be in a position where people don't think you're good enough to do it. So every individual has different ways of handling. I'll keep it short because I'm sure you've got a lot of other questions for our dignitaries on the stage. Pressure, you get used to it. Once you start putting yourself in a pressure situation, you realize that after a month, after 6 months, after a year, it becomes part of your ecosystem. So you don't feel it after a while. Somebody asked me a question when I finished playing. And I played for a pretty long time and they asked me after I spent 6-7 months, or I think it was after a year I finished playing. They asked me, what do you miss the most? I have played more than 450 matches for India, captained almost half of it, many more other matches, so I must have spent a lifetime of turning up in the cricket field. And I told him, and I still remember what I told him that evening. I said, I miss that nervousness and the pressure of the morning of a game. When you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you will have to go to a cricket ground where at some places 100,000, at some places 50,000, at some places 20,000 watching. And by the evening, you're either a success or a failure, a star or not one. I think that's what I miss because you train so hard to be good. You spend so much time in the nets, you train, you're practicing, you spend your lifetime doing it. And then when you finish at 4:30 in the evening, being successful in what you've trained for a long period of time, there is nothing better than that. So you miss that when you give your position up for whatever pressure you are in. He was a leader of an army. I'm sure when he finished, they retired a lot earlier than I do. I'm sure when he finished, he must have realized when he sat at home, sitting on a Sunday morning, watching TV or having breakfast with his family, that the life on a Sunday morning at the battlefield was a lot more fun than just sitting at home. So if people put pressure on you, just accept it and enjoy it because it makes you better. It makes you feel that you're good enough to do it. And at the end, it's the first 15 days which are tough. Once you get past those 15 days, it's a part of your system.
Wow. I also have, the other question, which is for you, Dada. You have been the captain of India in the early 2000s, and if you were asked to captain India now or lead an IPL team today, what changes, if any, that is, what changes in the leadership style would you bring in?
No, I think every individual is different. Every individual has different ways of leadership. When I became captain in 2000, India needed different dynamics.
Yes.
The world cricket was different, the stage was different, and I had to captain the side differently. We continued to become better after that. The systems changed in this country. Then came IPL, which probably turned the cricket ecosystem around all over the world, and it continues to keep growing. Now I look IPL from a different side, from a president's point of view, from a BCCI president point of view. So I look at it from the other side and not from the point of a player. So, I would probably do it differently now than when I did. But I think India has produced some great captains over the years. MS Dhoni, who handled the transition fantastically and continued to bring accolades not for India but for his franchise, the Chennai Super Kings. Then came Virat Kohli, who's also got a fantastic record as captain. He was a different sort of a captain. He did things differently. And now Rohit Sharma, who's obviously somebody who's a bit laid back and who takes things in a very calm and cautious way and is not someone who's into your face all the time. So every individual is different. At the end of the day, what matters is the results. It's what you do with your team and how many wins and losses you have against your name. So that's the way it is. So I don't compare captains of different generations. I don't think captains have to adapt to different generations because everybody has his own way of leadership. And when you give somebody responsibility, and I say that to a lot of people in this room, and I say that to a lot of people who I work with, when you give responsibility to somebody, let him do it. We give responsibility to someone and then want him to do the things the way we want it. And I think that's not correct. So when you back someone, let him captain, give him a bit of time to give you results, and then see what happens. So I don't generalize leadership over a period of time. It changes with time, it changes with generation, it changes with situation, it changes with what team you have, how you marshal the sides you work with. So it's very difficult to compare generations. But as I said, every individual is different and every individual will play, will lead, will do things differently.
That's what I also believe in. I think, somewhere I read that, leadership is all about influence, not authority. So the way
I think it's a bit of both. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to do that. And I think leadership is about creating an atmosphere, creating a work culture in the team because, by talking, things don't happen. It happens through action. So I think that's the most important part of leadership is to create an environment where things happen. It won't be positive all the way because you won't win all the time. That's the name of the sport and that's the name of life. Every business is not successful. Every project you do also does not fail. So you just got to keep doing it and expect that you succeed more than you fail.
Thank you, Dada. My next question will be for Mr. Ketan Sengupta. If you talk about leadership in the corporate world, how do you look leadership in corporate India and also, relevance of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose?
Yeah, I'll start off with a reference to Netaji. And this particular year, 2022, is very significant. It is the 50th birthday of Dada, 75th year of Indian independence, and 125th Netaji Subhash's birth centenary year. And talking about Netaji, he was very confident about achieving his goals. One of his famous dialogue was, "I don't know how many of us will be alive to see India free, but I am confident that India will be free soon." So that was the confidence which he had, which a leader has to have. And today I believe that India is on the verge of greatness. After 25 years, it would be Dada's 75th birthday, India's 100 years of independence, and Netaji Subhash's 150th birth centenary year. I don't know whether I'll live to see that year, but I am confident that India will be the greatest nation during that. And coming to modern day leadership, I would, I cannot forget Shomendu, who has been telling me, whenever you get up on the stage, you have to tell about me. He's such a good friend of me and Dada, so I can't disappoint him. So, about a modern leader, what is more important to him, what he wants from his team. He should not tell the team that this is how you should do it. It is the outcome which is important. And I remember a conversation which was happening between Dada, Virender Sehwag and Amitabh Bachchan, where Dada was referring to the NatWest final. And I think India was around 60 runs without losing any wicket. Dada and Sehwag, they were opening the innings. And then one bowler called Ronnie Irani came into board, and the first ball, Sehwag had hit him up above the mid-on for a boundary. Then Dada came, patted his bat on the pitch and told him, "Deख, एक चार तू मार लिया, अभी धीरे से सिंगल लेके खेल, नीचे मार, ज़्यादा रिस्क मत ले." तो सहवाग से ठीक है, आप चिंता मत करो दादा. The next ball came, he again hit it above the mid-on for another ball. So then Dada decided I will stay there and not tell him anything. सिर्फ यही बताना है, आउट मत होना, आउट होगा तो तुझे मत छोड़ूंगा मैं. So this is what our strategic partner did. I told him I want so many flats to be sold, and I never told him how he has to sell the flats. And they delivered like Virendra Sehwag, which I would say Shobhendu delivered like a Virendra Sehwag.
क्या बात.
So I think that summed up my leadership. I was a captain who players never listen. So that summed up my leadership over 6-7 years of time.
No, that's leadership in modern India, that's what.
Thank you. I think they have one or two questions to ask.
Yes, absolutely. So now to all our dignitaries, of course, সবার তরফ থেকে একটা করে প্রশ্ন আছে দাদার জন্য.
दादा मैं दिल्ली वाला हूँ यहाँ पे, अगर मैं हिंदी में नहीं बोलूँगा तो
हिंदी में बोलिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं.
तो आपने बोला कि लीडरशिप की जो लीडर्स की क्वालिटी है वो समय के साथ बदलती रहती है. तो आपको लगता नहीं कि मतलब कुछ ना कुछ तो कॉमन होगा, मतलब जैसे नेता जी का लाइफ है कि गोल सामने रखा तो प्लानिंग करी, तो कुछ लगता है आपको कुछ क्वालिटीज कॉमन होती है?
बिल्कुल, सर्टेन क्वालिटीज बहुत कॉमन होते हैं. एक तो अच्छे लीडर में डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर बहुत होता है. वो किसी चीज़ को बात के लिए छोड़ते नहीं. देखिए हर चीज़ में रिस्क होता है. यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल इन सम, यू वोंट बी. बट जो अच्छे लीडर होते हैं वो इतना दूर सोचते नहीं है. वो डिसीजन लेते हैं और आगे बढ़ते हैं. ये एक चीज़ है. आई हैव सीन विद लीडर्स दे आर डिसाइसिव. Secondly, they are fearless. They are fearless, and I've seen leaders get into tough situations. You imagine India chasing 325, and you have to score at 6 or 7 and over, and you walk into bat and you have to execute that. I think that talks about courage. That talks about guts. Look at MS Dhoni when he hit that 6 to win the World Cup final. India had won the game. There was no question of India losing that game from there. But it just spoke about his state of mind in a World Cup final. India at that game was stuck when he walked in at number 4 and went on to get a 90 and win it. So as a leader, he took the decision to walk in under pressure. So as a leader, you have to face things up front. If you want that dressing room, if you want your team, if you want your the troop of militaries to have confidence in you, to have faith in you, you have to stand up in the forefront and not lead from behind. I think that's very, very important. It's about facing the brunt from the front. So I think they are decisive, they are fearless, they are much ahead of time. So I just put my phone down because it just keeps ringing all the time. So, and I think they think ahead of the time as leaders. They say in cricket, a captain must be ahead of the game. You see the game 10-15 overs ahead than what the normal teammates think. So they have a lot of qualities, and most importantly, you have the skill. You need to have the skill, because only when you have the skill and only when you score runs, then you're respected by the people who you play around. Because just by talking or just by making statements, it does not make you a leader. It's about how you execute it. So I think all these skills need to be there, and I think at that level, when you reach and you're asked to lead a nation, you must be having those skills, which is because of which you get that job.
All the things that you have pointed out, Netaji, he can give examples, fearlessness and all that. Taking, leading from the front. So, any total information he probably can tell better. Netaji at one point in time actually wanted to come to the battlefield and become a martyr. So he would advise, no, don't do it. If you die, there will be nothing left. So you must remain alive. So all the qualities that you have pinpointed, in fact, Netaji also puts in problem.
Obviously, I don't know the qualities of Netaji because you only read it from the book. and I think many of us sitting on this stage have not met him or have not seen him. But from the stories you hear about him, just from the books you read about him, it just speaks of enormous courage in a world, where you had to fight for the freedom of a country. I don't think anything can be even compared to the leadership qualities he possessed during that period. We live in a luxury world these days where connectivity is at its best. You reach different parts of the world. You get on a plane, you sleep, and by the time you wake up, you're in another continent. And I think they have delivered freedom for India in a situation where there was nothing. It took you months and months to reach a certain part of the world. It took you months and months to get to what you want for the country. And then when on 1947, and I'm told he was not even here in India because he left that country in 1945, and wherever he was, I don't know. To see a country get independence in 1947 is much beyond and much bigger than any other leadership you can think and talk about. So these gentlemen are special. They are once in 1,000 years generation of people who have come to this country, and I don't think they can be compared to anybody else.
Next question.
Dada, I have one question from you, which obviously you are one of the best people to answer. Is you talked about pressure and the adaptability of the leaders to pressure, to enjoy it, and also the courage aspect of it. But there is one which I feel is a little more difficult, is the ability to take unpopular decisions as a leader, which is important for the larger interest, but is not going to make you popular with people around you at that very moment. How do you negotiate such situations, and from anecdotes from your career?
I don't think it's about popular and unpopular decisions. It's about the right and the wrong. As a leader, when you're given a responsibility as a captain of your team, you've been asked to take decisions because they select you, and then when you're in the ground, when you cross the rope, it's about you only. You have no advice from anyone except your vice captain, maybe some of your teammates, on and off. So, the best thing one of the former captains told me when I first became captain, he said, when you walk out as a captain, don't think about what the selectors think about you, what the critics think about you, or what people in the stands watching the game think about you. At the end of the day, when you go to bed in the night, when you put your head on the pillow, you must be able to answer one question. Is that as a captain, whether you did what is best for the team or not? Because as I said, everyone's different. Everyone's way of looking at things are different. They are different. Somebody wants to win a one-day game batting first. Somebody wants to win an international game chasing. So everybody has different perspective to wins and losses. So everybody will evaluate you as per their mindset. And a lot of ways is retrospective. Means once the event is over, then you have people finding the faults, the mistakes you made. That means nothing, isn't it?
No, if I can give one very specific context to this, it's about dropping one player, like to give an example of Gavaskar dropping Kapil Dev from the Indian Test, where he had to face that flag, the popular discontent. And in such situations, as a leader, as a captain, how do you deal with the external mindset, the people who look up to you, who support you, and then you are going against their
Well, I don't know what Gavaskar did to Kapil Dev because I was very young that time.
No, just
But
an
I think
example.
at my level, at my generation, I had to take some decisions, but I think communication was important. When you go and speak to an individual and explain that this is what you've done for the best of the team, they understand more number of times than they don't. So I think in leadership, communication is very important, being transparent is very important, and with time, with your actions, with your deeds, the people who you work with develop a trust for you. They know that what you do is with the mindset of best for the team. You don't have any other thought processes when you take a call on certain things. So as with time you start getting that respect. And I think that is very, very important. It's very important to get the respect of people who you work with. And the best leaders and the most successful ones get it by the way they have carried themselves over a period of time. See, picking, dropping, failure, success will happen because we are all humans. We are not machines that we keep being successful all the time or keep failing all the time. So that's going to be a part and parcel of any professional life when you're there for a long period of time. I think it's about the message you send to the people who you work is very important.
Mr. Shiladitya Chaudhary.
In fact, I was about to ask the same question what Chandra just asked him. Now let me ask you something completely different from leadership. Dada, you travel to such places and I'm told you're a deep amount of foodie. And you to travel to such exotic places where you have real gourmet food available. So how do you resist yourself? I could not do that all this time.
As long as I completed that 16 in bleep test, food did not matter. Only when you did not complete that 16 in bleep test, the physio asked you, are you eating biryani or cheese or butter? So it's all about attaining what you've been asked to achieve. And I used to keep it simple. And it was a lot easier, when you played Shiladitya because they made you work so hard that nothing remained in your body. The hardest bit is when you finish playing because you don't train that same way. You're not playing matches. You're not 7 or 8 hours on a cricket field. So it even becomes difficult to achieve those landmarks. So, but as you said, sacrifices are made as a professional person. It's up to you to make those sacrifices for how long and what you want to achieve. So that's the way it is. And I think for me, eating was a lot easier when I played because I had the opportunity to burn it off because of the number of games and number of training sessions and the number of fitness sessions all of us have to do during our playing career. It becomes harder when you finish.
Absolutely.
Are you now much more relaxed as far as diet chart is concerned?
No, I'm not relaxed. I think my life as a player was a lot easier because all I did was I played. But there's so many things I get to do nowadays. I think one of my most boring and repetitive dialogues is that I need time for myself, which I don't get. But hopefully someday I will find a way to get it because I think as you keep getting older, your free time is very, very important. But I think the best life was playing because that's the only thing I did and had so much time for myself.
Wow. Sir, Mr. Lieutenant General Mukherjee, I would request you if you have any question for Dada.
Questions?
No, I think I have a question for him which he must answer and I think everybody in this room must know. How is it staying in a battlefield when you're living in tents, when you're living under the sound of bullets all the time and when you're under pressure to protect the borders of your country? I don't think there is anything better and more difficult than what you've done for a long period of time. So I think leadership is fine. I played cricket, probably had the best of facilities to play the game. There was a little bit of risk of life because when you get hit by the cricket ball, that hurts. But I think your risk was a lot more than mine. So how was it living day in, day out under pressure, not just pressure of performance, but also under pressure of survival? How did that feel?
Thank you. There's one thing I did miss out, which I would like to cover before.
Please.
Mr. Sengupta, thank you very much for inviting me. An honor. And an honor to be with Saurav here and be with him on his birthday. Congratulations again on behalf of all of you.
Protected us against the Chinese aggression. And we could discuss cricket maybe, otherwise we have to discuss Chinese checkers instead of cricket.
Well, my experiences have been bright since 1964 in the army. I joined up because the Chinks had just walked all over us. So I joined the NDA and then kept going through life. I am surprised in many ways that I became a Lieutenant General because I have always been blunt and forthright and a difficult person to handle. I fall within the category of the argumentative Bengali. But anyway, the experience I enjoyed most was when I was commanding Kashmir during the latter part of the Kargil War, 1999 onwards, where I had the job to clear up things. And I was sent there specifically to clear up things. I was just coming from the Northeast with all my experience of the Northeast back in. And there was just one mandate, that we had to get rid of the Pakistanis and we had to throw out all the terrorists that had come in. Some 4,000 of them would come into the Kashmir Valley. And we did it. That meant you had to be everywhere, all the time. Nothing can really stop you when you've got that mandate in sight. And it's a question of the honor of your country, the honor of your men, the welfare of your men, the safety of your men. Nothing can stop you. So, whether it was day or night, whether I was flying in a helicopter at treetop level and guiding my men onto targets, either on the Pakistani border or internally in Kashmir. By the way, the record we had in my time of killing 3,000 terrorists in 1 year, nobody has reached that record again. But that's immaterial. The fact is we had a job to do. And all of us put together, there was no red carpets that you read about. We just landed up wherever we had to and did our job. I think that's all I'll say. It was great commanding 15 Corps, commanding both Ladakh and Kashmir. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I was the longest serving Corps commander till date. After that, I came to the company. Thank you.
A quick final question for
Yes.
Dada. This is from my imagination. Suppose, Dada, you are the Prime Minister of India. You become the Prime Minister of India. And you are in Delhi and going for a morning walk. And hopefully by the time you are the Prime Minister, you are in front of India Gate, and that time the Netaji statue also has come up. And when you are going for the morning walk, the statue becomes alive. He comes and tells you, Saurav, as a Prime Minister of India, if you want to make India the greatest nation in the world when it's 100 years of independence, I can give you one boon. Which is the boon you would ask for?
Can I give you the answer off screen? I don't assume.
Or would you require more boons, more than one?
I need a bit of personal space with me to answer that. So I will leave that. You see all these cameras? So they're dangerous. So we'll discuss this once we get out of the show. I've been trying to tell them I became captain in the year of 99. So I was 26 years old. Since then I've been telling them to switch off the cameras, but they don't. It's a very good question, and I think I may be able to answer that, but I'll answer that in a private space.
So you want a political answer or a political answer?
No, it's not a political answer. It's about making India great.
No, I think he's asked very honestly and simply.
But a beautiful question.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, but sometimes answers have different repercussions, so
Different
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, my last question might have different repercussions, but everyone would relate to it. Who are the leaders at your home front, gentlemen? I would really want to ask that. শিলাদিত্যদাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবো। খুব সিম্পল।
Who's my wife?
সবাই কি তাই? আমি সেটাই বলছি যে সেই একই উত্তর কি আমরা পাবো নাকি একটু অন্যথা পাবো আর কি। আগে টক অ্যাবাউট লিডারশিপ ইন মডার্ন ইন্ডিয়া, তো দেখা যাক কি হয়। শিলাদিত্যদা বলছেন ওয়াইফ, ইয়েস স্যার, নেক্সট। ভাবছে উনি তো চিন্তায় পড়ে গেছেন। অত্যন্ত
I don't know the home front.
Sorry, I can't hear like you're.
No, I can't answer the question. I can see Mr. Ganguly probably. That's one part, and I also have to be diplomatic. Which one I would pick?
Okay.
Did you see who got the certificates when we gave away the certificates? So who were the majority?
Oh. Okay, that answers really. Okay, Ethan, who is the leader at your home front?
I would say my younger son, my pet, Bruno, is the leader now in my house. He's been leading both me and my wife.
All right. Dada, তোমার কাছে আসলে তুমি জানো এটা
It depends at what stage of your life is. So I'm in a stage of life where it doesn't matter.
দাদা আপনি এত মজা পাচ্ছেন কেন বলতো সবই আপনি মানে এই প্রশ্নের উত্তরে আপনি প্রচন্ড মজা পাচ্ছেন I have a question. Do you have a question for him?
So my answer is at this stage, whoever is the leader, it doesn't matter. You do what you want.
You know what you want. Well,
You do what you want.
you do what you want. Oh, quite a statement.
I see the smiles on all men's face. I see that.
Fantastic. All right. Any questions from your side? আমি জানি আপনাদের অনেকের কাছে প্রশ্ন আছে একটু মাইক্রোফোন আমি চাইবো যদি ওনাদের কাছে যায় I want to take 5 questions. Ketunda, do we have that time? We'll take 5 questions.
I'll answer it quick.
Okay. Quick words. আমরা প্রথমে উনি হাত তুলেছেন প্রথমে আমি ওনার কাছে একটু যাব আমাদের মাইক্রোফোন আছে আছে Yeah.
Good evening, I am Sharmila from Showhouse. My question to Dada, is it mandatory for a leader to become or to be a good speaker and diplomatic as well?
I don't know. Yeah, these are individual characteristics and capabilities. I think in cricket, the most important characteristics of a leader is to do the skills well on the field. Because that's important. It doesn't matter how you speak and what you speak off the field, because talking does not win you matches. It's how you play on the ground wins you matches. I think it's the skill which is more important.
Dada here. Yeah. What qualities a leader should have? Being captain cool like Dhoni or being aggressive like dog. You know very well who is aggressive.
I've got a lot of respect for you because I've seen you from the age of how much, 14, 15? I think last 45 minutes we were discussing that only.
So what qualities?
He's such a wonderful gentleman. When I used to play under 15, he used to come to Eden Gardens and not only report, but he used to do the scoring also.
Oh wow.
Okay, so he's grayed a bit and got older as we all have, but his contributions to cricket has been enormous. So I think to sum up to your question, it is I think a mixture of everything: decision making, courage, skill, and a bit of luck. Luck is also important.
And regarding that song on this Netaji, we have seen 500 denominations coming out. It's not according to that time. It's 500 notes we are not there. We have seen just in the documentary on Netaji 500 notes. That denomination was not there during that period.
Dada, this is
Should have asked this to Usha Devi.
To Mr. Ketan.
one question.
That mentions that his presence is not there in the currency note now, not at that time. He could have been present in the currency note now also, no? That refers to that, he's absent from everywhere. Be it history books, be it currency notes, not talking about the past, about the present. He could have been present today also, right? That's what he mentioned.
Dada, I'm from Mission Netaji, so it's a privilege for all of us to be in the same room with you. And you are one of the greatest leaders in our lifetime we have seen, and you are one of the biggest celebrity. But we are also talking about leader of the leaders. So this is not a question. My appeal or request to you that you know that, as Mr. Shengupta also said, that Netaji did not get the right recognition, and we all know that his death is still mysterious. So are you
We are discussing him after how many years?
1945 and this,
125 years.
yeah. So my
And
request
still he
and
makes headlines. Still he makes people cry like it did to Usha Devi.
yeah.
So I think.
Now, I have a small
that's an
request to you,
enormous
Dada.
recognition, isn't it?
I have a small request and appeal to you. With your stature and position, if you could little bit bat
for Netaji's mystery, right tweet, because your voices will be heard very loudly everywhere across the world. So if you speak out about Netaji, that will be a big contribution to the entire nation. Thank you.
But I also need to be well knowledgeable about it. That's very important.
That you can easily do.
Yeah, so I have to give a bit of time. It's not
Yeah,
impossible.
it's the free time that he's
But I think I'm not knowledgeable enough to put tweets and even judge what he's done, because what he's done is beyond me and you. So maybe with time I can, but I need to be a bit more knowledgeable.
Please. Thank you.
দাদা এদিকে এইদিকে দাও
Dada, you have played under 5 captains.
Achha, he was asking questions about leadership. Don't make it a press conference.
Yes, it has to revolve. It has to revolve around leadership, ladies and gentlemen.
এটা হচ্ছে দাদা যদিও দুটো ক্ষেত্র আলাদা, তবু আপনার জীবনে তো ক্রিকেট মাঠে প্রচুর লড়াই, প্রচুর সবকিছু। তো আপনার জীবনে কি নেতাজি কোনোভাবে আপনাকে অনুপ্রাণিত করেছে? কোন জিনিসটা নেতাজি আপনার সবচেয়ে আপনাকে অনুপ্রাণিত করেছে?
I think his courage and the guts. Guts is very important in life. You know, to be honest, to be truthful, to stand up for the right thing. That is very important, and I think that's for everyone in every aspect of life, not just sport. You get challenged differently in your office. You know, you work for a very renowned newspaper. I'm sure you're challenged every day to do the best stories, get hold of a Kohli or a Dhoni or a Rohit Sharma, and that's a challenge for you. So no, you get hold of me very easily because you see me most of the time. So I think everybody has their own challenges in their respective fields. Ketan had the challenge to sell these flats in 10 years. He sold it in 2 years. So his challenge was a lot easier, and so you just deal with them and react accordingly. So I think hard work is also very important. A lot of people say that iska kismat to acha hai. But I think that happens only when you work hard. I've never seen a person being very lucky if he's not put in the efforts. And what sport has taught me over the years is you get exactly what you put in. What you put in on the cricket field, you'll get the results. I think that's very important in every aspect of life.
One question from the right wing. Yes, this gentleman, please come here the microphone.
হ্যালো দাদা, তুমি আমাকে বোধহয় 2015 দেখেছি, একটা প্রোগ্রাম করেছিলাম এগিয়ে বাংলাতে, একটা বেলুন নিয়ে এসেছিলাম। তুমি ফার্স্ট এপিসোড এবং গ্র্যান্ড ফিনালে ছিলাম। তো সেই এন্টারপ্রেনিয়ারশিপ জার্নিটা এখনো চলছে দাদা। তোমার যে কোয়ালিটি আছে লিডারশিপ, সেটা এখনো আমাকে ইন্সপায়ার করে। আমি সেই স্টার্টআপে এখনো আছি। ইটস গোয়িং ভেরি ওয়েল, অ্যান্ড থ্যাঙ্কস টু চন্দ্র চুদ্দার এবং দা। আপনাদের যা বই আছে, কমেন্ট গ্রাম পোস্ট সবই পড়া, এবং খুবই হাই নেতাজি ফ্যান, এবং দাদার এবং নেতাজির ছবি দেখে আমি আজকে এখানে এসেছি, যে কারণে এগিয়ে বাংলা এসেছিলাম। তো ওই লিডারশিপের জন্য আজকে যে স্টার্টআপ দুনিয়াতে আছি, আই এম গ্রেটফুল টু দিস বোথ লেজেন্ডস। জাস্ট এইটুকুই বলার ছিল। আর কেতনদা আমাকে ইনভিটেশন দেওয়ার জন্য যথেষ্ট ধন্যবাদ।
Just one thing before we finish today, and I'll have to leave, so that's the last question. You know, leadership is fine, but I think work ethics are also very important. You know, to be able to be successful in life and to do things what you want, you must understand the importance of work ethics, whether it's in sport, whether it's in business, whether it's in the army, or whatever profession you do, whether it's in acting or even in media. You have to put in effort to be good at what you do. Different skills require different way of harnessing it. Different skills require different talent. So it's important that you put in the effort to be successful. You know, just by being a leader, just by talking about leadership or reading books about leadership, you won't become good. You have to put in the effort to be good as well, and I think that's very important. Let's not use these basic, simple system of being successful is by putting in the effort to be successful. That's whether you're a leader, whether you're a normal player. When I first played in '96, I had to bat for 6 hours to get a test match 100. You know, it just doesn't come just waking up and turning on a cricket field and by reading books and by listening to others. You also have to find your own way to be successful. As I said, everyone's different.
দাদা একটা প্রশ্ন, 75 বছর নিয়ে আমরা যখন বলছি, আপনিও ক্রীড়া ক্ষেত্রে ভূয়সী প্রশংসা রেখেছেন, আমরা সবাই প্রাউড, কিন্তু ফিফার যে সিদ্ধান্ত সেই জায়গায় দাঁড়িয়ে আপনি কি বলবেন এই 75 বছর?
I don't deal with football, so I won't be able to answer that question. But I think every sports body has a system. Every sports body has rules and regulations and protocols. We at BCCI also have rules, regulations, and protocols which everyone follows. So I won't be able to answer that question. What exactly is the reason?
One last question from this side. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Hi, Saurav. Thank you for the opportunity. As a leader, like, do you regret some decisions? Like, for example, like Dhoni says, I should have dived in the semi-final against New Zealand. So, in the same way, in the 2003 World Cup final, do you regret in the toss you could have chosen something else, or you could have done something else? Like, do leaders have regret after, if you see it retrospectively?
No, it's what you're talking about is hindsight. I had to make that decision at 9:30 in the morning in 2003, and in the evening, whether the world or whether it's me was thinking whether it's right or wrong. So that has no meaning for me, because both don't match with each other, and both don't have reasoning. I took a decision at that particular time which I felt was best for the team, and I captained India in more than 200 games, and I had to take decisions at 9:30 in the morning every time. And I won how many? I must have won about 120 or 100, maybe slightly more matches. So majority of those times, the decisions which I took at 9:30 in the morning were right, and some were wrong at 4:30 in the evening. That's the way life is going to be. So I don't think retrospective. I have any I was disappointed that I lost the final, but I don't think toss was the reason to lose the final. We did not play well.
Thank you for
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. One, last thing before we play the song also, to wrap up, like he said in very simple words, you can read up for your knowledge or your awareness. You can follow legends to get